can still say hello, David.
You can until we turn your mic off.
Yeah, I know, but when you start.
I have incredible power, Mummy. I can turn your mic off.
Hello.
Hi, what have I missed?
Nothing yet.
Okay, good. How's everybody?
Hi, that's a corn blues.
Good.
Yeah, hello, it's Ari here. Hi,
Hi.
I thought the video doesn't work.
That's another corn blues. David.
Hi.
Hi, Dobby.
Hi.
Hello, Pesach.
Hi everybody.
Oh, Yitzi's here.
Hi.
See, Yitzi has a picture of the Carl David in the
I saw
background.
it.
Beat that.
I saw it.
So?
Man, Tata.
Yeah.
I'll just give another minute for people to turn up.
Oh, the echo.
Yeah, when we start, I'll mute everyone. For the echoes. 1 second, I'm going to have to mute everyone now. You can unmute yourself.
Okay. I'm causing it. Just a second.
Yes, it was you.
Hi everyone.
Hi, Dan and Becky and family, everyone. While we're waiting for everyone to come, you can get your Sefer Tehillim because we're going to start with some Tehillim.
Make it louder. No, speakers 100%. Mummy, she's so made Esther, David, all around the world.
I'm going to put the program in the chat. So you all
I can't hear without my earphones. Okay, well, that's the end of me. Wait. I'm not in it, am I? Yeah. Johnny, then look at this all around the world. Isn't that brilliant? I'll be extra. You couldn't get further than that. Pesh, my shirt. Esther Miriam looks so alike. We're always sitting. Esther's got something. Can you hear? Is anything talking? Anybody talking?
Not at the moment.
No, when are we starting?
We're going to start
We're
now.
starting shortly. You all need to turn your mics off.
What happens if you take your headphones off? You can't hear.
Okay, the program is there in the chat. We're going to be starting with some Tehillim, and Yitzi Kornbluth is going to lead us on the Tehillim. Okay. Please put yourselves on mute unless you have something you want to say so that we can hear each other.
Okay, we're good to go?
Yes, Yitzi, take it away.
Okay, so we're saying Tehillim now, the Eden Nishmas, Tully, David. And we're going to start with Tehillim Lamed Gimel. Lamed Gimel. Rananu Tzadikim Adonai Laisharim Nabas Tehillah. Hoidul Adonai Bechinim and Nevel Aser Zamar Loi Kishur Loi Shir Chadash Yitu Nagin Bisrok Yasha Dvar Adonai Bechol Ma'aseh Ve'emunah. Oyev Tzedakah Mishpat Chesed Adonai Malach Haaretz Bidbar Adonai Shamayim Nasu B'Reach Bid Kol Tzedam Kenis Kanid Mehayam Nisein Ba'Itzares Tehim Ethirum Adonai Kol Haaretz Mini Agur Kodesh Yisebel Ki Hu Amar Vayehi Uti Vayamid Adonai Hifer Atzas Goyim Heini Machshuet Amim Atzas Adonai Lam Ta'amoid
Maybe a bit slower.
Liba L'Doyer V'Doyer Ashrei Hagoy Asher Adonai Elohim Machal Anachla My mid at the dinner, but rather told me autumn and the friendship to his care of Kodesh, the earth, easy after living moving from at him. Ein Hamelach Nation of Gibble, not the of Kerr, Stecker, assisted sure, Hale Mali, Tina, the Noy Aliev, and Yasin, the Hassel, the Hudson of National Place and Barob, and Shane, Fix on the Noy, as any who Kiwais Machlin, Living, the same coach of the Tuffney, he has to have the Noy Alenu Car, say, how new loss. Tess Zion. Michtam LeDavid Sharmeini El Ki Chasisi Vach Amart Ladonai Otzat Taiwasi Barelach Bishmasha Baratim Adir Kachefti Vam Yirmi Atzvoisam Ache Mahora Bal Asach Naske Midam Bal Esa Smoisam Sposa Adonai Naschelki Befasi Atzatayim Kairoli Havalim Nafli Vanim Af Nachla Safar Alai Baruch Adonai Asher Yotani Afkedis Shivisa Adonai Legi Sam Ki Mimini Bal Emait Samit Ki Mimini Bal Emait Geen Samachli Bayog Vedi Af Sorry is kunnen wettig ja die staat en nafsi Israël zit in gezit geleur zag de ene geheim zei was mag het vannacht die imeis bimincha netzach Yud Zayin te veel de David Shim'a de nooit tzedek hakshiva rinas hazin het verdassi blij zit meer met van de spot die eet zijn nacht dan een shar machanto libi pakadita laila zraftani bel timtza zamoisi bal yavar pi If Ulois Adam Bidbars for Secha Anisha Marty Orchis or Tomich sure Magli Second to Omer Avni Grasifa Sanini El Hat Odin Khalish Mai Masi Afrika Sadacha Meishia Khazim Miskayim Miminach Shamini Kisham Basayim Bitsek Fakha Tafsirini Near Jam Zu Saduni Oiva in Benefish Akifo Aloi Khavam Sagar Pimo Dibur Begeos Asherin Atos Vunu Name your sister Linda is Wires America area of Ik wil je eerst met mijn story. Kom maar, dan ik had me vanaf. Ik wil je bepaald naast me rustig haar weg. We moeten hem gaan. Ik neem met mijn geld van kan gaan. Sommige Mali Vietnam is goed van hem. En hier is hem dat jullie maar niet. Dat zeg ik echt gezegd van Nechel Espo de Hocket. Ze moet nog zeggen. Iron Base.
This is the Lamed of Naphtali, right?
Is it?
Oh no, I thought you were doing the letters. Sorry, carry on.
The letters is it comes after the list.
Letters is next. Okay, fine.
Yeah, Iron Base. לשלוימו אלוהים משפטך למלך הם שתקוס למלך יודן עמך וצדק וענייך ומשפט יסו הרים שלוים לעומר ובויס וצדקה יש בדעני יום ישיע לבני אבי מידקי אוישי ויורוכם שמש מפני ירח תדרים יריד ומות הגית ירבים זרזק פרס יפרח ביומוב עדק ורב שלום עד בלי יד מיום עד יום מאר נפס יאר ספון ויחלצים ואיפה אופר ילכיך מערכת סש ושיעי מנינך ישתיב מלך יסו אשבו אסו אשקו יקריב וישתח ובוי כחול מלאכים גלגלים ירדו ויסקיית של אבי ומשבע ואני ואין איזה לא יחליט סעודה ואיפה מנש וזבינים ישיה מתך ומחום זיג על נפשם ויקר אדם ואין על יצחי ויתן לו עם זהב שבו ביספל בעד לסמל כל היומי ורחן הוא יסיסס בר ואורס קריש הרים ירש כלבונן פריה ויוציץ מאיר כיסס ואורס ישמל לאודם לפני שמש ינן ושמר יסבוך ובוי כל גאים יאשרו ובורך עדנו אלוהים אלוהי יסוב וריסן ובויס ודוי ובורך שם כבוד אלוהים ומולי כבוד את כל הארץ אמן ואמן חלוס ולויס דוד בן ישוי צדיק א' ישב וסייסר אליין וצל שדה יסלוינה נוימל עדני מסי ומסתוס אלוהי אבטח בוי כי הוא יצלח מפח ביוק שדבר בויס אבטח אלוס יוסי לא רצח וצח תעצינו זכי עמית הלסים וכך לילה מחייצי אוב יום מדבר בוי בגלל לך מכת פשוט של שרים יפל מצדך אלף ורוב מנך אלך היקש רק ואינך סבת לשדום הסושה מציר כי עתה אדוני מחסי אליין שמת אלך ליצים אלך הרב נגע עלי ובהלך כמלוך וזהו לשמוח בכל דרכך Al Kapayim is ongemeend toegeeft bij Eben, maar van Schachel, dat het een tidelig term is, ik weer zijn wie gevast waarvan het vragen wie ik ja, dat meer ik weet bij en hem en het daar gaan te wachten bij. Oei, ja, maar als bij waar wie suasi. Kuf Daled. Orch nafshes Adonai Adonai Elohai Gadol to wait what was so it some need to shine career. I'm a car by my years or some of them who are malach from country rach is and loch bruches and shows which lady of the day some not to meet them wait. Hem kalvas kisi salram yam my min garos in min kalam fi khapin yadu yardu or midu request am claims they are sent to him both some to value and al shun fast right from shalach mayon man from in addition ask ko khaisa is other is for him some my him if as my mission bin akon mit the masken or mal yosef and bima asaf just by art and smeh khotz la behema Eiseb la vida saad moiti lechem min ha'aretz v'yayin samach v'ganesh l'hatzu honim mishamnu lechem min v'ganesh yisod yisod atziyadena v'arz elvon asher not asher tzipar mikaninu rachide v'rishim beitza harim agvoyim la'yelim asloim nachzid ashvanim hosei rechem v'yadim shemesh v'yadim v'voy tashes cheshach v'yilele v'yitzim et kol chat yar Akvim shayim mator v'vaksh mi'ilochem tizrach hashemesh v'yatzim v'manos ni'gos ni'yitzah odem kol v'adosei ha'yard مراب ما سخر دني كل مخاف مسيس ماله أرز من ناخد ده أيام قدر الخاب بدم شام رمس إن مثل خايس كتاني سم جدار السلام أنيس يليخن دبياسن زي وتعالى الزاق بكل من أخي سبيل لاسيس أخلم بيتل تيتل من كيتن يبتت تهارس يسبو تيتل يادخل يسبو طيب حاسب هنخي بهرين سويس فروخ ميجون ولا فم يشوفن تشارع في خاخ جوارين خالص من آدم يخوي لدين الأولم يسمع خدين بمعصب ومعبد الأرز وتيرا ديجا بهرين بيعشانو أشير العدني بخير زمل الهاي بيجا يا ولا السيخ نخي يسمح بعدني تم خطاي من الأرض الشايم أيدينهم أرخي نفسي أسعدنا هللويا كف لامت شرع معلز من معما كم كسيخ عديناي أول كريتي ينا أصنخ كشجايس الكوت خنونا ما بيناي تسمعيا عديناي مية عامي كيم خلاص سريخ لما أنتي بريك بيسي عديناي كيف صنع شيء بدل براه خالتي نفسي لعديناي مش أمير لعبيك شامير لعبيك أخيل إسرائيل لعديناي كيم عديناي هخسد لحبي ما يفدس وهو يفدأ إسرائيل نيكول أبوينا يصاف. So now we're doing Kuf Yud Tes Ois Naftali. So we're doing now Nun. Ois Nun. Ner Ragli Dvarecha Va'oildin Sivasi Nishpati Va'kayema Nishber Mishpatit Techa Nanes Yad Ved Adonai Chayim Kedvarecha Nidve Spiritino Adonai Mishpat Lamadini Nafshi B'Chapi Summit V'Sayascha Le'Shachachti Nosnu Rishon Pachni Mibkedech Le'Saishi Nachalti Eid V'Yisecha Le'Olam Ki Zitay Li Behema Matisi Libi La'asis Chukach Le'Olam Eikev Ois Fei Lo'is Eid V'Yisecha Al Kein Sarasam Nafshi Pesach Tvarecha Ya'ir Mevin Tesoyim Kifarti V'Yisecha Ki L'Mitzecha Ya'oti B'nei Elai V'Chanini Ki Mishpat La'Yaha V'Yishmecha Pa'omai Hachin B'Masech Ba'al Tashlet V'Ki Chol Oven V'Leim V'Yishek Adam V'Eshmera Pikudecha Panecha Ha'er Ba'abdecha V'Lamdini Espukecha Halgei Mayim Yordu Einoi Al Lo Yishomru Serasecha Ois Tof Tikra V'Nasi Lefonecha Adonai Ki Dvarecha Dvarcha Havineni Hatovitz Chenasi Lefonecha Ki Emroscha Hasilin Taban Sfotei Tehila Kis Lamedeni Pukecha Ta'an Nishayim Emrosech Kol Mitzvecha Tzelet Hi Yotcha La'azini Ki Pukedecha V'Charti Ta'avti Li Shioscha Adonai V'Tzeroscha Sha'ashuet Chi Nafshi V'Tzareleka V'Mishpatecha Ya'azini V'Isi Kuseh Oiv V'Bakish Avdecha Ki Mitzvecha Le'Shachachti Ois Lamed L'Olam Adonai Dvarcha Nitzov V'Shamoyim L'Doyer V'Doyer Munasecha Koinanto Eretz V'Tam V'Mishpatecha Om D'Haim Ki Ha'Koila V'Gacha لسراسة شاشور لا زبادتي بعني لا إلهم لا يشتغل بداخل يضم يصنع الخواني وشيئين في بداخل دراسة لي كبر جام العابدين إذا سخر أسبان الخوض تخلر إيسي كيس الخوض من إسفاسخة مأيد أيس يود فداخل أصوني ويخلنوني هبينيني وأمضم إسفاسخ يرأخ يروني بيسمخ بالدوارخ يخوضي وتعتي هذا إنك تتالي مش بتخ بأمنا من الإنساني هنا خاصة نخميني كما أمر في مصر العبداخ يبني أخلاق بأخي في رأس الشاشة يبايش زيدين كشاكي بسني عني أصياخ بداخل يشوفوا لي يري أخو يريد إلى ساخ اللي بيصمم وخكاخ لما عن لي إيفايش أيس نشامة أيس نون نير لرجل دفراخ بأرلين سيغاس نسباتي وعكايم ليش ما مش تيسيخ نعنيس يعد ميدي هذا الناس حيين دفراخ إدواي سبيريتينا عديني ومش بتاخد عمدين نفسي بخافي صامد بسراس ولا شفختي نفسي برشاين بحخلي من كداخل سويسي نخالتي إدواي تاخد لأولم كيزيسين ليبي هيمون أنتيسي ليبي لا أساس كاخد لأولم إيكاب أيس شين صار مردفوني خلام ومدوارخ بخد ليبي فصل نخلي مساخت مثل شغلوب شاكا سنيت فاتعيب وكراسة أهوتي شبع إبراهيم هلاتيخ على مش بتاخد Shalom Rabbi, Happy said, Sech, the Elam, Yoshe, Starty, Shloshim, the name of Sisi, someone, Napsi, Ede, Secha, Bo, I have him, the strong Marty, if you could have a Ede, Secha, you sold the Rachai Negdecha. Ois, hey. Hayreni, I don't know, Derek.
Well, you missed out.
Mr.
Mem,
Mem, Yitzi. Mem.
Mem. Ois, Mem. Ma habti Sarah Sech, Hayom, in the Oivite Hakmini, Mr. Sech, the Elam Hili. Ik kan de lambda his scout hier te zeggen dat zich alleen met de kenen met wonen keep betekent dat soort die call erg coalitie ragle de maan is met erg in met zeggen dat soort die ja te horen sorry maar neem het zullen ik maar zeggen met was die wie gedacht is binnen al geen zo niet call erg zaken is hey Irania de no derg gekregen wedstrijd ik heb niet een wedstrijd zeggen wij maar nog wel leven had je kenen met zullen met dat die had libeleden die zeggen out of what haar weer nee meer is zo er ga je hakem naar de gaan maar zeggen Shirley, you're a Sahabe, Possi, I say a girl to Mr. Pechat, in to actually if you could have with Costa Hayeni.
Thank you very much. We're going to move straight on to Dovi. Dovi fella. Where are you, Dovi? I can't see you. There you are. Okay. And Dovi's going to share with us some thoughts and some memories about Uncle Tully.
Hi, everyone. Great to see some familiar faces. And to all the unfamiliar faces, I'm Dovi, 29. My mother is Miriam Feller. My grandmother is SD Combs. So Tully was always characterized growing up as the mysterious Uncle Tully, who no one knew too much about him. He was someone that perhaps was a little bit detached. My only recollection and memory of him growing up is when he turned up to my bar mitzvah and took a watch off his wrist and handed it to me as my bar mitzvah gift. Then a couple years ago, I had the fortune to cross paths with him, and I needed to help him sell some gold coins, and we started this relationship. And I found out that this mysterious, detached Uncle Tully was actually far from it. He was perhaps characterized a little bit inaccurately, because when you find common ground with Tully, a whole nother side shows. There's a whole lot of conversation to be had, a whole lot of laughter, a whole lot of interesting topics. And all you've got to do is go into Tully's world rather than being in your own world, thinking about what you knew of Tully. And it was always in my car rides back, it was quite a schlep together. And in my car rides back, I was always just amazed by what an incredible human being he was. And it was almost like you were thirsting for a bit more. And I'm sure it's a bit like when, I sit with my grandmother, and I'm sure it's the same with Auntie Sarah. When you leave them, you just inspired and you just realize what a special person they are. And it was exactly the same thing with Tully, really. But just a couple anecdotes just to what really sort of made a huge impact on me, and realized how detached perhaps his brain was from mine, and just his reality, how different his reality was. Is just a couple moments to share. Number one is when we were talking in the beginning, he sort of asked me for my number, to which I asked him, okay, do you have a pen and paper? And he said no. And then it dawned on me that it was more convenient for him to memorize my number than to stand up and get a pen and paper from the table just next to him. I mean, to me, that was quite incredible. How I don't know anyone like that who you'll meet who had such a brain that was more convenient for them to memorize my whole telephone number than to do that. And another thing, I was on the phone with him, and I told him, when I see you again in a couple months, I need to take a picture of your passport. But I said, don't worry, I'll remind you, in a few weeks. And of course, I forgot to remind him. And I showed up, and I forgot to tell him when I was there. And as I was leaving, he pulls out his passport from his robe, and he's like, don't you need a picture of this? And I just realized how clear his brain was. Way more than me. I'm a 25-year-old back then, and he was in his mid-90s, and he had such a clear, strong brain that he remembered that from 3 months ago, and I'd completely forgotten. And then one more thing is when obviously we had a lot long conversations about his casino visits and gambling, and his casino visits and gambling. And I told him, sorry, I told him that I sometimes frequent the casino, and he looked at me with excitement and he's like, wow, so you know how to count cards? And then I told him, I don't, I just go for fun. And then his excitement sort of changed to a little bit of disgust. And he was like, you go to a casino, but you don't know how to count cards? Like, what's the point? He couldn't chop. There was nothing in his brain that could understand why someone would go if they didn't know how to beat the system. And it sort of gave me a different reality of things, of how straight and sharp and amazing. And if there's one thing I learned most about Tully, and that is the same thing I get from my grandmother and Sarah, and that is his choice of words, the power of words. There was no exaggerations. There was not one word more or less than he wanted to say. There was no small talk. Every single word that came out of his mouth was meant to be. And it was that power of words, especially now day and age. There's a lot of waffling going on. A lot of people talk maybe a little bit too much. And just his choice of words that he used was very, very special every time I went there. So that's something I took from Tully, and then I try to imply into my own life. If I can just finish off with one video, that small video I took of the two of us, just a conversation we had, which I think is very special. So hope you can all hear.
My older sister, Sarah, she likes to hear me sing. She's the one that told me that I sing especially good. I didn't know that. You do? She had to tell me that. So now I'm thinking about it.
You're coming out of retirement.
Yeah. So that was done tune again, and now I know. When I was 12 years old and I was in Litra in the Czechoslovakia, the small town where my grandfather was a rabbi that stayed there, I learned one from the husband of my auntie, like my mother's sister. The husband, he was a rabbi, Rabbi Teitelbaum, young man, because they only just got married, and I was staying there, and I remember one that he sang, and when I sang it, he says to me, no, you don't sing it right. Now you want to hear that one?
Yes, please.
It started with my didis. He sang it for my didis with a cruiser at Shabbos Hamalko for that Friday evening.
Sure.
La 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 la. La 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 la.
That was just a short clip of us, and I have many more singing videos, which I'll be happy to share with the rest of the family upon request. But anyway, wish all the family long life, and may we only hear good news.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Dovi. Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, that brings us on to the theme of the Mishnayos. So Johnny Finn, all the way from Efrat, is going to be Messiah. We've learned 3 Sidorim of Mishnah, and Shkoch to everyone for all the learning, Le'iloi and the Neshama. Johnny.
The last Mishnah in Yuma says, a person who says, I will sin and then I'll do tshuva, or it doesn't work. You can't trick yourself by saying, I'm going to do the sin again and I'm going to do tshuva. It doesn't work. I will sin today. Don't worry, Yom Kippur will come, I will be mechaper. It doesn't work. Yom Kippurim mechaper. Sins between us and Hashem, Yom Kippur will mechaper. However, you have to say sorry to your friend until he says, I forgive you. If not, you're not mechaper for those things. says in Vayikra, Aver sheben Adam Makom Yom Kippurim Machaper. Again, the ones between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yom Kippur, the day of Yom Kippur Machaper. However, Aver sheben Adam Machaver, but the sins that we do between us and our friends, Yom Kippur will not Machaper. Ad Shirat says Chaver until he schmoozes up his friends and says sorry and he gets forgiveness. Amar Rabbi Kiva, Ashrechem Yisrael, blessed Yisrael, Lefni mi ma'atim mitarim, mi mitareschem avichem shemashraim. The HaKadosh Baruch Hu is metaher, purifies ourselves. Shneimah says, "V'zorakti alechem mayim tahom utahartem." I'm going to pour on you mayim tahor, and you will become pure. V'omer mikveh Yisrael Hashem, ma mikveh metaisa. To mean, just when a person who is tomei and he goes into a mikveh and the mikveh makes him pure, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Yom Kippur will mitaher Yisrael from all the sins they have done. Adon aloch sedoy moed noshim nezikim, v'adon alon daton aloch sedoy moed noshim nezikim, v'adaton alon lo nis yoshim inoch sedoy moed noshim nezikim, v'lo nis yoshim inon lo ba'amol yodim lo ba'amol dialsei. However, no adonai lens the v'so is chofina fi'asam chabeisa v'niya anachnu v'anachnu v'tzetzin v'tzetzam chabeisa kulon yodei shomel yon zeitzoas cholishma ma'over sechak meini mitzvaysecha ki la'olam hi yihi libi somi b'chukacha laman le'vosh le'lolam lo yishkach fikudacha Kivam Chiyusoni. Baruch Adonai lamdeni chukacha. Amen. Amen. Salav ed. Moedim anachnu lefanecha Adonai leheinu b'levasim sheshasam techakim yeshu beis hamedrash v'lo miyeshvei konos. Anu mashkim nidvei tevei mashkim nidvei rebetzedim. Anu ma'amenu beim ma'amedim. Anu amenu mekabnim schar beim amenu meidam mekabnim schar. Anu etzemen motzim. Anu otzim chayim haba. V'hem motzim midvashach hashlema. V'ater Elohim v'diem midvashachas. Anshe domim umimo. Lo yachasu yamehem bani eftach boch. He was from Adonai v'seim kasher shazatani l'saim seid moed Shloshim nezikim kach tazrei ni tazrei nu le'aschir sedorim asforim achim u'saimom limod lelamed lishma v'lasos okam eskol devistam v'toris v'secha be'avo u'schus kan atnoim samidei chachamim hanitzchem l'seid moed noshim nezikim ta'amoed li v'lezari shelo samush hatorim mipi u'mipi zari v'zera zari adonam. Become be Bisarecha Tancher Oischa. Beshachwacha Tishma Alecha Vikosi Kivi Yabu Yamachu Yasivu Lachashnas Chayim Orach Yomim Beyimino Bismoila Osha Vachavod Adonai Oz Lamo Yitzim Adonai Varech Esamoy Vashavod.
Iskader Viskadesh Merabo Kol Mod Uosid Lischadeto Lachayom Sayo Lasoko Yoshoy Lechai Almo ולמבנה קאוטו בירושלים ולשכלולו היכלו בגבל ומקו פלחונה נוחוב מערו לסופו פלחונה דשמעיו לעשרי וימליך קודשו בריחו במלכוסי וקוראי יצמח פוקוני וקורא משיחי חי יכולים וביום יכולים חי בכל בית ישראל Vagalo is man kori v'imru amen.
Amen.
Isador v'Isanei v'Salol Shmei D'Kodesh Brechi. Leila mikot chasha v'shivasa tushbachos v'neramasa amiram balma v'imru amen. Al Yisrael v'al Rabban v'al Tamidei Hoim v'al Kol Tamidei Samidei Hoim. Welkom ons Kimbereis so die Basu Kadisho Hadein with die Bechalasavia Sal. Ja hele Honor kon Shlomarabo in the Gizdo Rachmin Chaya Richem Zun Richei Uf Konom Kodoin Rohom die Shmayo im Romain. Ei Shlomarabo min Shmayo v'chaim Toyim Alein Val Kol Yisrael im Romain. Oi sei Shulam Bimoim Vavu Bravim Yasa Shulam Alein Val Kol Yisrael im Romain.
Uncle Graham, will you say the Kol Malavachmi?
El Moli Rachmim, Sheikhin Bamreimim, Hamsei Menucha Nechayno, Tachas Kanfei Hashchino, B'malois Kedoshim Utohirim, Kezoya Horokia Mazhirim, Es Nishmas Reb Naftali, Ben Moreinu Harav Dovid, Shohalach Loilamoe, Pavo, שכל משפחתו נויבים צדוקו בת אסכורס נשמוסוי, בגן עדן תהי מנוחסוי, לכן בלו רחמים יסתירהו בססק ונפחו לעולמים, וירצרו בצרה חיים אס נשמוסוי. אדוני הוא נחלסוי, וינוח על משכבוי בשלום, ונאמר אמן.
Amen.
Shkoyach to all of you and shkoyach to all the loimdim. It's a wonderful family effort. The siyum of the Mishnayos. Shkoyach everyone. And now to the final part, Tzvi Schreiber is going to give us a bit of an insight into Uncle Tully's special wisdom with numbers and with probabilities, which he made, as you know, his whole career out of. So this may get a bit mathematical, but hold on to your seats. Tzvi is a very good teacher and explainer, and it will give us a bit of an insight into Tully's mind and his wisdom. Tzvi, please.
Thanks, Benji, and shkoch, everyone. Yes, I'll try just for a few minutes. This is going to require audience participation, so be ready with the chat. From the stories I heard over the years from Dad and recently from Bubby, and then also from what Dovi said, Uncle Tully clearly had a very remarkable memory, but also a very remarkable appreciation of probability, and specifically of conditional probability, which is very rare. And maybe I can show you in just a few minutes how unintuitive this stuff is. He was able to beat the house at blackjack. Bubby told me he left school or yeshiva at the age of 14, so he had no formal training at all in mathematics, but he was able to beat the house of blackjack, which requires a very good understanding of conditional probability. Something which I'm going to try to show you in 5 minutes is very unintuitive to most of us. So I'm going to show you just two problems and see how you guys do. And the first is quite famous. Some of you may have heard of it. It's known as the, if the host, Benji, I guess if you can just let me share my screen or make me a co-host or something in the participants panel.
Sure, 1 second.
The first one is called the Monty Hall problem. It was actually, some of you may have heard of it. It was actually on a TV show in the 70s in America. The problem goes like this, and I'll show it to you in a second as well. There's 3 doors. One of them has a car, and 2 of them have goats. Some of you may have come across this. And you need to pick a car. You want to get the car, obviously, more than the goat, presumably. And so you need to take a guess. Okay, so I've got, can I share now? Yeah, okay, great. So you can see my screen. So very simple, 3 doors, and you need to guess A, B, or C. 1 door has a car, 2 doors have a goat. Now, because there's a lot of you, do me a favor, they're all the same. So just assume for a second that you guess A. Okay, assume that you've guessed A. So first question, and feel free to use the chat here. What is the probability that you got the car? This isn't a trick question. It's very, very simple. You guessed A. There's 1 car in 1 of the 3 doors. What's the probability? So we've got here a third, 33%. Okay, very good. You're all good at probability, so that's great. So now we're going to move on to the conditional probability. So you all chose A, and now what I'm going to do is I'm not going to open door A, but I am going to show you a goat in 1 of the other doors. Okay, so I'm going to show you that B has got a goat. Okay, now I ask you a simple question. Do you want to still choose A, or do you want to switch your choice to C? So just put A or C. Are you sticking with your guess of A, or are you switching to C? So okay, A, somebody switching, C, switch. Okay, so about equal actually. Some people are okay, Dan staying. So we've got a bunch of people saying they're going to stick with A, a bunch of people sticking with C. A Combu thinks it makes no difference. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that Uncle Tully would have, without hesitation, switched to C and not stayed with A. And the reason for that is that if you go with A and you stick with A, let's say you play this game lots of times. If you stick with A, you're going to win 1/3 of the times, right? But if you go with A and then you switch, then whether it's B or C, you're going to win. Because if it was B, I'll show you the goat in C, and then you're going to switch to B. And if it's C, I'm going to show you the goat in B, and you switch to C. So actually, by switching, you're doubling your chances from 1/3 to 2/3. But as you see, for a lot of people, that's not necessarily intuitive. That they feel I should just stick. I've got no new information. That goat is a goat. I don't want the goat, so I'm going to stick with my probability. But you could, I'm sure Uncle Tully would have switched and doubled his chances. Let's try just one more problem, which is probably less famous. So you've got 4,000. You've got families who have 2 children, and for the sake of argument, let's say half of boys, half of girls. So you've got 1,000 families with girl. They're all 2-child families. 1,000 families of girl, about 1,000 families of girl-boy, 1,000 families of boy-girl, 1,000 families of boy-boy. And now I ask you a simple question, and this is the normal probability. That then we'll get to the but a simple question first. My first child is a girl, so that's the condition. I'm telling you something. I'm telling you my first child is a girl. Okay, and now given that condition, what is the chance that my second child is a girl? And so far, it's quite easy. Well, what do you think? If I've told you the Akiva says half, Arya says half. So what you're saying, 50%, half. Okay, you're all very good at this. So you're right. The first child, the 2 children are pretty much independent. If my first child's a girl, doesn't tell me much about whether the second child is a girl. Now let's ask something slightly more subtle. I tell you, I've got a daughter. Almost the very similar formulation. I'm telling you, I've got a daughter. What is the chance that the other child is a girl? Okay, so type your answer. I've got a daughter. What's the chance that my other child is also a girl? So this is conditional probability. You've got a quarter here, quarter, half, quarter, 50, I assume 50%, a third. I think Danielle's heard this one. More likely to be a boy because you're -1 girl already, third. Okay, suddenly a third is popular. So good, a third is correct. So very good. Okay, well done, Danielle. Basically, we're saying you've got these 4,000 families, and I'm saying, well, it's not, by telling you I've got a daughter, all I'm telling you really is I'm not one of those families with 2 boys, right? So now there's 3 possibilities left. I could be a family with 2 girls. I could be a family with a girl or a boy. So that's the conditional probability. The conditional probability is saying, I've got a condition. I've told you I've got a daughter, so I'm not one of those families. So now there's 3. Now I know I'm one of the 3,000 families. Out of those 3,000 families, 1,000 families have got 2 girls. So the chance that my other daughter a girl is just 1/3. So very well done to Benji and Danielle and David who got that correct. Just one last one to finish off then, which is even more, a little bit more subtle. So I said before, if I've got a daughter, what is the chance the other child is a girl? And we said it was 1/3. Some of you said, and that was correct, that it's 1/3. Now I'm going to change just slightly. I'm going to say I've got a daughter named Julie. What is the chance? And this will be the final one. What is the chance that the other child is a girl? That looks very similar. I just said I've got a daughter. I told you she's called Julie. What's the chance the other child's a girl? So we've got now a half. Someone wants to go to the casino. Johnny wants to go to the casino. Okay, so it was 1/3, but actually what happens here is, okay, we've got this is out, but now we've got different possibilities. I've got, let's say for the sake of argument, 1% of girls are called Julie and no boys are called Julie. So out of the 1,000, I've got 10 families where the first girl is Julie, out of the 1,000 with 2 girls, and I've got 10 girls where the second girl is Julie. And then I've got 10 families with a girl, boy with a Julie, and I've got 10 families, 1% with a boy, girl who Julie. So whoever said a half, several people said a half, they're absolutely right. As soon as I identify which girl I'm talking about, then it's a half. But when I don't identify which girl it's talking about, then it's 1/3. So anyway, we only had 5 minutes. So I just wanted to demonstrate very quickly that for many people, this kind of conditional, for most people, for the vast majority of people, this kind of conditional probability is very unintuitive. And that's why it's a rare person who can go to a casino and beat the house. You need to have a very good instinct for this stuff, especially if you don't have a formal education as well as a phenomenal memory as well. So that was it. So wishing everyone a long life and Chaim Arukim and
Thank you very
Soros
much.
Toas. Benji, anything to finish off?
Well, this is this concludes the formal proceedings. I thought anyone who wants to share an anecdote or whatever can do so. And I thought I'd share my anecdote. I mean, my kids have heard me say it, but I think it's the only story I remember Tully telling me. And it says something about him and his brain and his character. So I think I'll share it in this forum. So I remember Tully telling me that when he was a young child, he was in Cheder, and every Friday the teacher, the Rebbe, would ask a test on Chumash Rashi. Now Tully was a mischievous child, and he was not well behaved in class, but he always got 100% on the test. He told me that he would photograph the Rashi with his mind. He would look through every page of Rashi before the test. Wouldn't take him long. He'd just turn the pages and photograph each page, and then he'd go into the test and he would get 100% every time. And it used to drive the teacher mad that the naughtiest boy in the class always got 100%. And then one week he got a question wrong. One question he got wrong, and the teacher was delighted that, finally had scored one on this naughty boy who really didn't deserve to do so well. And Tully told me that he didn't understand it. So he went back to the Chumash. How could he have missed the Rashi? He went back to the Chumash and he looked at that page and the corner had been folded over and that Rashi was hidden. So that's how he got one question wrong on the Chumash test. And maybe someone else wants to share an anecdote.
Not so much an anecdote, but I just remember my father telling me it wasn't just his amazing mind in mathematical calculations and probabilities. He also used to go to the races, the horse races, and there was such a thing called a photo finish. That they would have a photo of all the horses at the finish line lined up. You could see exactly which horse came first, and he would stand there, and with his eye, he would be able to see exactly which horse came first, and he would a little window of time to be able to bet, and he would go and bet in that time, and he actually won, and before the photo finish came out.
That was only one eye.
Maybe I could just add a word to that, Simchi, because there's something a little bit missing. In fact, it was his memory, and his eyesight was appalling. So he had no advantage in his eyesight. How do I know it's his memory? Because he used to come round and my job was to test him on the colors of all the horses and the jockeys for the races that he was going to go to. Once he had committed them to memory, he'd stand on the line, he would just allow his eyes to see what went by, but because of his memory, he knew which horse had won, whereas the other people competing with him saw which horse won, but then had to go and look up which horse was it that went through first. But he'd already put his bet on and got better odds than the others. That's what it was about.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bubby or Auntie Esty, is there anything you'd like to share?
Your mic, Esty, you have to take the mic off.
I'm just very grateful that we've made this Siyum, and it's been wonderful, and I want to thank everybody for coming.
Thank you. It's a privilege. Okay, anyone else want to say anything? Otherwise, we'll close. Okay, so Shkoyach, hope you're all having lovely winter holidays.
Thank you.
And the Neshama should have an Aliyah.
Nice to see you.
Thank you, everybody.
Shkoyach.